or at least he didn't address it right there. But he might later. Okay, well, but Netanyahu was more than willing to meet with him, and apparently Dave Rubin, according to Jewish Insider, who reported on this, that was a part of this meeting, because what people need to understand is that Israel likes anti-Semites, because the more anti-Semitism that they engender, the more they feel, more justification that they can say, this is why we need an ethno-state. This is why we need to keep the hordes of Arab people out of our state. We need to maintain this demographic majority.
So this is where this clip with Emma and Tim Pool, I thought it was still pretty good, and I wanted to cover it just a little bit more because, Tim Pool deserves to be destroyed, dismantled, eviscerated, all of the above for his grifting ways, his lying ways. When it comes to what she just said there, the thing is, look, we don't want people, I disavow any kind of violence, right? Any kind of violence. That said, I don't believe in subjective terms. Like you have to understand that at this point with Israel, if you're going to go there, somebody's saying literally from rivers to, and I can't even finish the statement on YouTube. So there you go. Right. That's now considered this label. Okay, so I can't capitulate to that. Sorry, I can't do it. And if anybody's looking for me to say, okay, yeah, she's 100% right about that, I just feel like it's like I can't. I'm not going to say it. And I'm not saying anybody's looking for me to say anything, but I'm just saying I do have to keep it real. At the same time, I get the point that she's making, though. I do. However, this topic of Tim Pool pretending to be some anti-establishment kid with a beanie hat is not the same thing here. Like, this needs to be discussed because, okay, I'll get into the rest. By the way, thank you to everybody who is watching. Let's go ahead and get into this clip. And guys, please hit the subscribe button. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. People are watching, people are commenting. It's exciting, it's great. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Benefit from that kind of thing.
If there's no anti-Semitism, there's no reason for Israel to exist. Let's just play a little bit more of this, and then we can find...
It's a little simplified, right? But all right, let's go ahead.
Some other stuff.
Gen Z support for Israel. Is there no pro-Israel champions that I really see? I talk about Israel a lot. I'm a raging Zionist, but I don't see a whole lot of other people who have a firm understanding of the history and the context.
No, we can't make a cogent argument that that young people find compelling as to why we should.
Which is why on the right it's sure Israel can do its thing, don't care, and on the left it's down with Israel. So I actually, here's a question for you guys. Can you, honest question, this is not a gotcha because I'm looking for a real answer, and for those that are listening, comments. Can you name a prominent, high-profile, large following, I'm talking like a podcast with millions of listeners, who is staunchly pro-Israel, advocating very heavily for Israel?
Ben Shapiro.
So is Gen Z?
No, anybody in the podcast space.
Dennis Prager.
Sorry, anyone in the IDW, the Weinstein brothers, what are you talking about? Who? Barry Weiss?
Ben Shapiro, Barry Weiss, every cable anchor, Jake Tapper, Dana Bash, except some on MSNBC.
Tim Pool, I would have put that in. I mean, we'll get into some of it a little bit later. But
I will say they abandoned the previous point, which was can you give a good reason why people should? The only reason that he gave was, like Matt said previously, was that it's a lazy analogy to a fist fight, being jumped outside of the local saloon, I guess, in an old Western or whatever. And then they kind of revisited that, why should Gen Zers be on board with Israel with all of the things we just mentioned? And then they were just who are the Gen Z far right influencers who would get them on board? Not addressing the central premise of why would you be?
Exactly. Why even look for somebody else to influence these people to get on board with, this situation? I'm sorry. And the only reason why I'm not calling it fully out by name is because of, the ADL and what they've done with YouTube. Yes, it's that serious. So, maybe people don't have to be fully on board. Why do I need to be fully on board? Why do I need to be influenced to be fully on board with what? With more war? With this unholy alliance? Man, if it's not even if people want to say, oh, we don't care what Israel does, which is not, I'm going to keep it real. The young right, that's not their position. Their position really is kind of get rid of this infrastructure or actually control it. But, if I don't care about what happens there, but can I at least care about my American brothers and sisters and say that I don't want to go into another war in the Middle East for Israel? Come on now.
They weren't even looking for a Gen Z name. They're just like, is there anyone that's pro-Israel? It's like, what? Are you out of your
There's a few
mind?
people, but they're going insane.
Yeah, and what Matt was looking up earlier was because I saw this. It reminded me of this part of my conversation with Tim Pool from nearly 2 years ago at this point, where that very tension that you describe here, Binder, came up about their vehement opposition to the support for Ukraine, but and how, like, if they're isolationists, that should also extend to Israel. This is that exchange.
Also unclear to me if Higbee himself is pro-Ukraine. He might be like the Douglas Murray type, so I just want to put that in there.
Right, where Palestinians are defending themselves, and then it's, oh my gosh, they are just it's completely symmetrical. Israel and Palestine; these are two actors just battling it out.
No,
I would love to fund the Palestinians so that they were able to have a better
You are
life
to
for
the right
themselves.
of me on foreign policy.
Well, we already fund Israel, dude.
Yeah.
Are you against that?
That's a tougher question I don't have an answer to.
Then you're in favor of funding military.
No.
We fund the Iron
Me
Dome.
literally saying
We fund
I
their military-industrial
don't know
complex.
anything enough about it.
Then if
and
it's
I
your
lean against
principle and you're
intervention.
anti-war, then you should be saying that we should cut Israel funding for Israel
Or I can say
defense right
simply,
now.
I lean. That's why I said 99%. I'll say I absolutely lean against providing military aid to Israel. I just don't know. I will say.
So there.
Oh my gosh. Let me let her comment on it. Wow. Okay, let me let her comment on it.
There you go. But let's get back to, I guess, this part, because there's a point where he tries to blame some of the anti-Israel sentiment on funding, right? Is that a part of this where he says the Qatari op part? I was just reading that. It might be the beginning. We don't need to get to it, but according to Jewish Insider, who wrote up this article, Poole argued that there is a Qatari op to manipulate social media algorithms to make anti-Semitic and anti-Israel episodes appear to receive far more views than, say, tips for picking up women, in order to incentivize podcasters and YouTubers to produce more anti-Semitic content. Netanyahu, however, was non-committal in his response, saying only that it's possible. No, part of why those videos are doing well is because they are some of the most horrific images that you will ever see in your life. Bones and flesh, just like in piles, because people can't identify the level of slaughter. Children with their heads blown off, fathers wailing over the carcass of their toddler. Yeah, that's why people are clicking on those things, because
no, seriously, like, you can see it now. It's not like, all this time, a lot of this stuff but this is not the first time too, but like for this prolonged time, yes, but all this time people couldn't see what was going on over there. Now people can see what's going on over there, and they don't particularly like it. What do you want them to do? Why are you mad at them? They don't like it, who would like it? But you don't know. But the thing is, why my mouth dropped is because that debate between her and Tim Pool was over a year ago. I think it was 2 years ago, and he was saying that stuff. Then he's saying he doesn't know that much about it. It's funny because when Aaron Mate went on his show, a Jewish man himself went on a Jewish man, by the way, who used to live in Israel, who was a Zionist, by the way, went over there to argue his position, like, yo, this should not be happening. This is not cool. We need, down with all of this stuff or whatever. And he was telling Aaron Mate he was wrong. And finally, Aaron Mate had to say, like, how are you going to tell me about my history? Like, and that was the only way Tim Pool would shut up. It was the most craziest thing ever. I'm just like, and sometimes I ask myself, I'm going to keep it real. I'm like, Tim Pool, is he like Jewish? Like, and I'm not, if he is, like, that's what's up. Like, but what is going on?
However, what I love about what the White House is currently doing, when you bring together a bunch of influencers and podcasters who don't know much about journalism, culture, whatever you want to call it, not that we respect it tremendously, most people didn't know what Chatham House meant. So,
can you, again, don't need to take it off the screen. Just a reminder, we just played a clip of him saying, I don't know much about it. The recipient of our top military amount of military aid, Israel.
Funny because they bring us into the Blair House, which is where Netanyahu was staying, and immediately people are walking around with their cameras, their phones up. They actually took our phones from us, and I legit thought they would maintain Chatham House rules, meaning you can't quote the prime minister, you can't quote his officials and the other people who were there. but you can report what was said generally. If you wanted an official quote on a specific matter, you would then ask an official once the meeting was wrapped, and they'd provide you the exact quote. Or they would just say outright, like, we ain't putting our quotes on that one.
The Chatham House rules. So he's accusing the fact that Jewish Insider had got leaks about what was said in this meeting of violating Chatham House rules.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of how he would react if, like, I don't know, some journalist was like, yeah, Chatham House rules, I didn't report that. Like, who cares? What are you talking about, Chatham House rules? Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
Sounds like he's a little mad it got out.
But
he's absolutely mad it got out, and I don't know why. Like, it just solidified the deal. Like, don't worry, you're gonna be fine. You'll be protected. You'll continue to get boosted on YouTube. They have ways of doing that, Tim Pool. So you don't need to be like. He was mad, And Dave Rubin was there and everything. Like, it was a whole, like, who else was there? That's what I'd like to know. Why are you meeting with these people? So this is supposed to be the independent guy. This is supposed to be the independent guy. Like, really? The guy we're supposed to be listening to? The guy with the beanie? The good guy with the beanie? Yeah, all right, man. I don't front. When these people say they're independent, no establishment here. Everybody has bills to pay. And especially when you have a big conglomerate going on, and you already were acting weird about your position, so it's easy to get caught up in these kind of situations. I mean, he was taking money from Russian, oligarchs, so what's the difference?